What up, guys? I am Gina Theresa.
I'm Charlie Coralejo.
And you are watching the New York Film Academy's Twitch channel, Schooled! And I cannot tell you how excited I am for the guest that we have tonight. This is going to be probably one of my most exciting favorite episodes because tonight we have Craig Caton. Oh, you don't know who Craig Caton is? No big deal, let me tell you. He's only been creating VFX in the motion picture industry for like 30 years and he's worked on 100 films, including, but not limited to, things like, oh, I don't know, Terminator 2, oh, Ghostbusters. How about freaking Jurassic Park? You guys know how obsessed I am with Jurassic Park? How many references have I made to this movie in the past like 4 months of being on air with you guys? He's here in the studio, he's like right there. Anybody, welcome Craig Caton! Woo!
Yeah!
Yay!
Oh, thanks for having me on the show, guys.
No,
This
thank
is a
you
real
so
honor.
much for being here.
No, it's my pleasure. So.
Like you made the Velociraptors, right?
I did, yeah. I was in charge of the mechanics
He
and also
made
the
the
head puppeteer.
freaking Velociraptors, and he was the puppeteer. Let's go ahead and start getting into what we're doing for the show tonight.
Yes.
And it's pretty exciting. We have our dragon. We're gonna animate it and learn how to put it in through a flight cycle.
Yeah, we're going to do
Okay.
a flight cycle, and then we're going to take it into Unity as a final polish.
Oh,
Okay.
very cool.
So, cool.
Okay, Doc Will. Doc Will is our
Doc Will.
is our dragon's name.
Wow, okay, cool.
Okay.
So here we go. So this is the dragon. I got this online, and it's one of the dragons from Skyrim, I'm pretty sure. And so right now I have it displayed without its controls and stuff, and I'll click over a little button over here on the side. Will display its controls, and you'll see all these little wires and stuff showing.
Oh my gosh.
And so each one of these little wires is actually a control, so you don't have to pick the geometry itself. So like for instance, if I pick this little box around the head, now I can rotate the head around and make the head do all
Whoa!
these cool things and stuff like that, right? And same thing like down here, I can grab his jaw and open his jaw and, hey everybody, I'm glad to be on the show.
Happy to be
Yeah,
here.
once a puppeteer, always a puppeteer. All right, so a dragon flight cycle. So I'm going to make this a loopable flight cycle so that when we bring it into Unity, it can repeat itself over and over. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a 18 frame long cycle. And if you look down here at the bottom of the Maya screen, down here is the timeline. So right now it's on frame 1 and it goes all the way over here to 18, okay?
Cool,
So
cool.
there it is, and I can grab it with my little left mouse button and move it back and forth.
Great.
And there we have it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the overall body motion going up and down for the dragon.
Okay.
So, and to do that, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to open up this thing called the outliner, and I'm going to select a polygon plane that I created a little bit earlier, and I'm going to unhide it.
Oh my.
And there it is. Yeah, so it's a little bit transparent. But what I'm going to do here is you'll see this really cool looking control on the top. This is the dragon's up, down, and overall body motion. And so
It looks like a dragon.
I like
going
the
to
effort
gun
they
show.
put on that one
Isn't that
control.
cool? Yeah. So you'll notice that the plane that I have selected, it just almost goes to the top of his shoulder, right? Or just almost top
Right.
of his arm. So that's what I'm using this plane for, is for a reference there. All right, so I have the dragon there. I'm going to hit the letter S on my keyboard, and that's going to make a keyframe. And then I'm going to go all the way, and since I want this to cycle, I'm going to go all the way to frame 18, and I'm going to do it again. So now I have the beginning and the end are exactly identical.
Very smart.
Could you, just for the viewers out there, explain what a keyframe is?
A keyframe is where you set. Wow, how do you explain a keyframe?
I can give it a try.
You basically are telling that on this particular frame that this is where this dragon is going to be. Maybe we can do it a little bit better if I put one more keyframe in it, because right now it has the same keyframes and it doesn't do anything. So I know on frame 9 is where the middle of my cycle is going to be, and this is where his wings are going to be in their down position. So that's going to be where he's getting the most lift if you're into dragon physics. So what I'm
I
going
am
to do,
totally into dragon physics. Who's not?
I'm going to lift him up so that his shoulders or his armpits is just about to the top of this plane now. So now I've lifted him up, and that's what I was using this plane, and I'll set another keyframe there. All right. So now I can hide this plane because we don't need it anymore. I was just using it for that ref, and you'll notice that when I run this animation back and forth, that he does this little up and down bounce. So,
We've all seen dragons do that before, right?
So that's
Dragon at
his
the club.
flap. So at 9 is where his wings will be farthest down, and then on the way up he'll start to move down again as his wings move back upwards. So there we have that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these little things that look like targets on his armpits there, all right?
Okay.
And I'm going to put them in rotation mode, and I'm going to just move these arms straight up so I get a nice, like, V type looking type thing. So,
Can I ask you a question?
yes.
What are all the things that look like little Christmas trees on the wings?
Christmas trees.
Those are controls for his like for instance this one controls if we move it. Like,
Whoa!
so
Wow, that's so specific.
Every little joint and everything on this dragon has a control that we can keyframe and set and
Holy
do all
smokes!
that stuff.
Holy smokes!
So I'm going to say I'm going to move this one down a little bit here. And I'm going to say that we got a nice V type shape happening here, which is pretty good for the upper wings. But what we need to do is we need to set some keyframes on these guys. So I'm going to select this guy and his other shoulder mechanism.
Press S
and
again.
Also, and also his elbow, not actually his hand mechanism, and also this one over here. And I'll go ahead and hit S, and hopefully that'll set keys on
Thinking
those.
of bird, that's the wrist.
And go to the last,
And then I'll
last
go
frame
to the
again.
last frame again and reset these again.
Okay.
So, and I'll hit S, and now we have keyframes on both of those.
Yeah.
So, since there's no keyframes in between, he's still just kind of like doing his little thing here. So,
Yeah.
which is good because we want this frame and this frame to look basically the same.
Right.
So, okay, so I'm going to go to frame 9 now, where we set that his lowest point in there, and now I'm going to like move his armpits down or his arms down. So and we're going to try to get like some nice pose for him to so that he looks like his wings are flapping down. So I have his wings in a fairly nice scary like looking position, moving down, flapping down. They're fairly dynamic looking. So I'll grab all those controls again for the wings and the shoulders. Here's his wings, almost like on the furthest down position. So now I'm going to start going to little frames. I'm going to go to frame 12, and what I'm going to do, this is going to be like an example of what we call in the business overlapping animation, but I'll have to set that up to describe it a little bit better for you. So while his shoulders start to go up, let me keyframe that, and then this shoulder starts to go up as well, and I'll keyframe that. While his shoulders start to go up, his outer wings are still heading downwards, okay?
Oh, yeah. Because of, like, the wind would be pushing his wings down
So
while
it's
he's
like,
yep, I'm doing
so
the
it's
thing.
a little overlapping.
'Cause I don't want to
motion
look like an
here.
idiot.
And I'll just see if I can get a nice dynamic thing. I'm looking for something that's kind of like the letter M here.
But you don't. I noticed that you don't make anything symmetrical.
No, that's like a
Like that's a newbie
You
thing.
really exactly. I wasn't going to say newbie, but
No, you
that's
can
like
say newbie here. We know.
Noob. It's a
Yeah.
novice mistake.
I'm definitely.
So-
I'm like. Is there something below a noob?
Beginner? I don't know.
I mean,
But that's a nice way of saying it.
I'm like under noob.
Under noob.
So
Make it a real thing, guys.
There we
Under
have.
noobs and you.
Yeah. Hey guys, make up a word for what I am when it comes to this because I am less than a noob.
So now you'll see as I move him forward, his upper arms are going to start moving upwards, but his lower wings are still traveling downwards a little bit. So that gives us that nice little
Oh, that's so
scissor
cool.
motion happening up. Right. So at this time, I'm going to go onwards to frame 14.
Thank you, potato.
And I'm gonna move these wings, his inner wings. I'm going to move up just a tiny little bit more, not much.
I love Elvis.
I will take his outer wings, and I'm going to
It's
start.
like, meanwhile,
wrong
back
one.
in the show that
Grab
you're
that
supposed to be
one.
hosting,
And
they
I'm
make
going to start
dragons fly.
scissoring the wings so that when the wings come up, they're not like.
Is that
pushing
still
air
the
back
same
up.
one you were using a while ago? I mean, like
Same
you're
exact
not
control,
okay.
yeah. So I can do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. So I'm going to start scissoring that wing so that there's less wind resistance coming back upwards. Okay.
Wow.
And
Now,
it's
is that-
definitely giving it way more character, less something more
Yeah,
threatening.
something that looks cool.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
important.
So
you know?
this is super specific, and I don't know if they get this specific in games, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Is this something that you could? I know that they like with things like rocks and you kick a chicken or whatever. Like force is applied throughout the game on all objects in the game. Like. So is this something where, like, if there was a storm, the wind would be affecting, like, the force of the wind would affect that rotation?
Yeah, although in this case it's just being keyframed, and that's
Right,
how it's
yeah.
going to show up. There are you can do something. What you're referring to is something called dynamics, and there are rigid body dynamics and soft body dynamics, and we could like literally turn his wings into like softer body dynamics, like a cloth object, and then we could create a fake wind inside
and then it
here,
would...
and then make that wind billow and blow those wings around.
Yeah.
So,
But as I understand it, though, doing something like that will force the system to kind of do more work, like and make it like
it will
more difficult to run a game.
Yeah.
So like I that's why I know like animators would try to fake it as much as possible just to make everything run smoother.
Right, and so that's why it's better. A lot of times you're better off to do it inside Maya and animate that effect, and then then when you bring it into Unity or Unreal or something, you're kind of getting it for free.
Yeah.
So because it's not actually using it.
No, instead of actually using
physics and stuff inside Unity.
So keep that in mind, guys.
We're getting some mad love in the chat right now.
Yeah?
National Llama says the show is amazing. It's always giving a good time. The Unity one made me fall in love with you, but you guys are over 9,000 today.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
That's you.
Thank you, National Llama, being so sweet. Appreciate it.
So now we got something that looks kind of like this.
Oh my God, it's deadly now.
So
Whoa.
and I think down here I'll give him a little bit more a little more curve here so that his wings start scissoring up a little bit sooner. So now he'll just like be doing something like that.
That's so
Right,
cool.
so-
That looks like he's coming to a stop, kind
I'd
of.
also like to point out just how much of a master he is, because I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and he's
He's
already
like
got a
literally
dragon
making a
flying.
giant.
So-
We're getting close.
Yeah.
So I got one more set of keyframes I want to do, which is before we get to the end of this, and so I'm going to move these wings up into like one of their highest.
So Rhea,
positions.
while they're doing this, I'll go ahead and answer your question. So Rhea asked in the chat, our dragon Duckwill asked about themselves in the chat. Looking at how Craig optimizes the wings, I wonder if we need to copy and paste the numbers so that both wings remain at the same angle, direction, etc., or it isn't important and both wings get different positions. So I actually asked the exact same question, and he said that you don't really want them to be 100% symmetrical on both sides because it doesn't really look realistic, because when you're watching a bird fly, like the wings aren't necessarily at the exact same angle the whole time, and that's why we're looking for a new word for noob, because I don't know and I'm less than noob, and he said that it's kind of like a novice mistake. People tend to try and do that and then it ends up coming across less realistic, even though it looks very clean.
Yeah, nature is not that often symmetrical. So.
Yeah, very rarely is nature symmetrical. Even like in cephalopods, we're technically not symmetrical on both sides.
Into what the hell am I?
We're all cephalopods. We have heads.
That's the big
The
word
things
for
you learn
today.
every day, yeah.
All right, so here's my basic flight cycle for his wings, and if I hit the play button, we'll kind of get an idea of what he's doing here.
Whoa!
And so I'm.
Wow, he's hauling butt. He's like, that dragon is on a mission.
So
Yeah.
he's moving along.
Dragon's like,
one
I
thing I don't like about this guy right now is
That's
I don't
me
like
as a
the way
dragon.
his bottom wings here are holding up. So I'm gonna just translate these up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But wouldn't you need to like put keyframes again from the start?
I'm gonna
And
try
then-
it without them and see how they look.
Okay.
And
Oh, you didn't keyframe those. You just
I just placed them, yeah. So
Okay.
they're just gonna stay where they are.
okay.
And without animating, and that's pretty good. Maybe I'll move this one a little bit more in, and maybe this one as well, just a little bit that way. And hopefully I can get away without having to keyframe them.
Mm-hmm.
And
that looks
actually
much
looks
better.
pretty good.
Yeah.
So, all right, so there is his flight cycle there, and we'll add a little bit more to it. Let's put a little bit of something on his tail, since we're doing pretty good for time, I hope.
Oh, yeah, we're great. It's only 8:15.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab his tail, and his tail is like set up so we can animate like this. and really
I want to
cool
be a happy
stuff.
dragon.
And
What's a happy dragon? It's like
Where he's
pointed
like,
up. Oh, okay.
yeah, happy
I
all
thought it
the
was
time.
like a dog, just like
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to put this tail up just a little bit like that to start out with, and keyframe that guy there. And I'll go ahead and go to the very last frame and set another keyframe for him right there. And I'm going to go. Now, my wing cycle, I put it at its lowest point, is at frame 9, actually, for the upper wings, right? And I want this to kind of like overlap and go a little bit after that, so I'm going to actually go to frame 11, and I'm going to move this guy down for frame 11 keyframe on there.
Oh.
So that way, it's going to follow a little bit afterwards.
Oh, that's
right?
so
make it a little
cool.
bit more natural
Yeah.
than just
freaking
having them
out.
do it at the same time. Because
Also, it's like it's naturally moving to the push of the wings. I
Right.
guess.
So, and you can see that it's kind of like the main thrust of the wings is happening here, and so that is radiating back to the tail, which happens a little bit later than the wings. So that's kind of that key there. And once again, this is all like a principle of overlapping animation, which I'll show here. So as the wings go down and the inner wings, the shoulders start moving back up, you notice that still the outer wings are still traveling down a little ways. All right. So that's our basic dragon flight cycle right there.
Can you do anything to make the body like
Curve or
like
Oh, like Slither,
like never
I
ending,
guess?
never ending story?
We could. We don't have that kind of time.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
but
sorry.
we
I'm asking too much.
This rig is completely capable of doing all that. This is an amazing rig, and you can do little things like for instance, you can move his chest around and create like little breathing motions and stuff like that.
Oh, whoa.
Can you make him wink?
Neat.
At the very end of the flight cycle. So like every 17 frames, he's just like, bink, and then he goes back.
Oh, can we just? Can he
Oh my
be a
God.
one-eyed dragon?
Arr, a one-eyed dragon.
Yeah.
Oi,
But
He's got some battle scars on him. Oh.
that's crazy.
So there's that. Let's do one more thing before we're done with him. We'll do a little head animation as well.
Okay.
Here. So here's our dragon, and you see his head's going up, and his head's kind of like staying
Oh,
parallel.
yeah,
which
he
is
looks
what-
like a bird.
What birds exactly?
Yeah.
That's what birds do. Their heads pretty much stay parallel when they fly.
That's what I was going to tell you about that scene in Jurassic Park that you were talking about with the eye on the thing, because I have an African gray parrot.
Oh, I love
And-
I used to have an African gray.
And
yeah.
they absolutely do that. Like when you're coming up, they're like to check out what you're doing. Every time it reminds me of the.
What do you do that checks out?
Anything,
Like
like-
you're texting?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
Instagram
it's
you.
actually funny you should say that because I had an African gray after Jurassic Park, but for like 20-something years before Jurassic Park, I had this thing called a Mexican redhead parrot, and actually his head movements is what I use to base most of
I knew it!
the
Yeah.
movements
I
of the
knew it.
raptors, because you know how parrots love to like look at things with one eye, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that their heads also like they're very kind of like they move, they stop, they move, they stop.
Yeah. What program are we working in right
We're
now?
working in Autodesk Maya, and if you're a student and you have a student ID, you can actually get this for free as a subscription from Autodesk Maya from the internet. So
I just found out,
you.
and yay! I'll be doing that.
He's like, I'll be doing that when I get
Yes.
All right, so the one finishing touch we want to put on this dragon before we send him off to Unity is, well, remember the first frame and the last frame are identical, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to send him out like this, we would end up with a stutter because we'd have these two frames that are the same, right? So,
Yeah.
And the really simple solution to that would just
cut it off by one
get
frame.
rid of one of the frames, right? And so there we go. Run the frames, and now he will cycle a lot more believably.
Wow.
home. So why did you even have the 18th frame in there to begin with?
Because I wanted to get a complete cycle from start to finish. Because the first frame and the last frame needed to be identical in order for the second to the last frame to flow
Oh, I
smoothly
see, I
into
see,
that
I
frame
see.
again. Did that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because some of my students like.
If you guys are just joining us and you're
Have you
like,
ever just
wait,
gone,
I
"But look,
missed
it doesn't look right
Don't
there."
worry, man. We archive all of our episodes. So you can go into our page and look at, I think it's View Archive or View Past Videos. Production will type it up for me in a second. That's it. Actually, I was right. Nailed it. Yeah, so just check out the archives and we'll have this loaded probably by the end of the night when
Yeah.
we're done. It goes automatic. So if you really want to learn, I mean, he did everything step by step of how to do one full flight cycle, which I'm sure that you could then apply to different things like
Yeah.
walk cycles and run cycles and whatever you need. So now we're going to put this over into Unity, and
Right.
we're going to see, we're going to polish it, do some finished polishes, and we're going to see how it interacts within that environment. So
So all right, so there we have it. There's basically two ways we can bring this into Unity. Ever since Maya 2016, which is this version, you could actually in your over here you can actually have new menus to actually send this to Unity. So we can either send all of them or the selection. And the same thing, we can also send it to the Unreal Engine as well, which is great. However, it's the other. Okay, so that's the first method we could use. Now, the second method we could use is that we could just save this as a scene, and then we could just use Unity itself to actually import this scene. And for doing like simple basic things, like like if you're animating a car or some rocks falling or something like that, the Maya exporter works really, really well, and it works pretty decent. But when I'm doing something that's a little more complex, like a flight cycle like this, I actually have a tendency just to save it off as a scene, and then I use the Unity engine to import it, because Unity keeps their stuff really up to date, and the Unity engine is going to convert it to a different type of file format of polygons. It's going to be a file format called the FBX file format, and it's going to calculate its animation and all that stuff. And it actually does a little bit better job, in my opinion, than Maya does at the moment.
Doing what?
And doing the conversion. So from converting it from a Maya asset into a Unity asset. Basic stuff, Maya's fantastic, works really great. In fact, we could probably mess around with this if we had enough time and get it to work really well too. But at the same time, we could just go straight to Unity and import it into Unity, and that will work even better because Unity's already set up to import this sort of stuff flawlessly. So that's what we're going to do pretty soon.
Let's do it.
So,
I'm very excited. All right, let's see how this works.
all right, so I'll go ahead and I'll just save the scene. And there he is.
I can kind of get that in the sense of because Unity knows its own language better than Maya. I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it being the tool that's importing it, it's going to translate everything better than if Maya's the one forcing itself into Unity.
Now I am going to pull a little bit of a cheat on you guys here. Bringing this into Unity takes about 30 minutes. All right.
No.
But fortunately,
Our dragon has another question. It says, I'm not an animator, so I don't know much about timelines. I was wondering why he chose 18 frames instead of 24, 29, or 30. Just less work,
because
right?
it's just a nice. Because I wanted the frame number 9 to be my middle frame on this, and so 2 times 9 was 18, and so instead of going to 24, which will be a little bit slower, I just decided to do the 18.
But you could have theoretically done.
Now here's the cool part. When we get this into Unity, there's a way we can slow it down and speed it up in Unity with just typing in a few numbers.
Oh, so without even having to bother changing
we can take the same
frame
flight
rate.
cycle, slow it way down, speed it up, do pretty much anything we want once we get it in there. So,
Awesome.
all right, so I'm going to launch Unity now. And like I said before, I've already exported this and I've already imported them into Unity prior, so we don't spend the next 30 minutes looking at our screen going, will it work, will it not?
Yeah, so now we are in Unity. We've just dragged our little dragon friend named Daquil from our Maya program into Unity by saving it first, just saving it as a scene, and then opening that scene within Unity.
In order to get this far, what I did first is I loaded up Unity, and then I went up here to this assets menu, and I went import new asset, right? And that opens up a little box, and right there is our little dragons cycle that we created in Maya, and I just imported him, right?
Yeah, this is for you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. and so once he was imported, it ended up giving me something that looks like this, all right? And right at that point, he's not completely animated yet. If you notice, let me get this open here a little bit more. I just had this. There we go. There's a little arrow on him, and you can see that it shows a lot of these are actually his eyeballs.
I was about to say those look like eyeballs.
So
all of his assets are separated there.
Yeah, here's his tail and
Holy
some of
cow.
his wings and stuff. But you'll see right here is this little arrow thing, and this is called Take One. This is the actual animation that we did. So, and if I were to take this guy and I drag him up onto our little hierarchy line, which is the stuff that's inside the scene, and drag him and let him go, he would just sit there and he wouldn't animate, because you have to load the animation part separately. So at first I would drag and drop him up here into the hierarchy, or you could just drag him straight into your scene as well. And then secondly, I would click on this little Take One, and I would drag and drop him right on top of that dragon right there. Or I could drag him on top of the dragon in here as well.
Because that's the animation sequence.
Right, so that's the actual animation sequence. And let's go to, there's something called the inspector over here. It's when you create this sequence, it doesn't automatically let's see if I can get him to show up.
What up? We have a new person in chat. It is H. Meister Senpei. We just want to say welcome.
Hello.
And feel free to jump in. We are here with a god among VFX mortals, and his name is Craig Caton. He is animating right now. If you want to go back, you can check out the archive once the show's over. You can go and kind of see how we did it. But we have officially animated a static dragon from Skyrim through an entire flight cycle, and now we've imported that static or now flight motion having dragon into Unity from Maya, and we are exploring different polishes and different finishes to catch you up on where it is.
So here we are. I've loaded him in. I have his animation cycle loaded in, and all I have to do now is I can push play, and it will start the game engine up, and we can see him pretty soon doing his little wing.
Wow.
So that's pretty neat. And
He needs to eat something. He's a real skinny dragon.
Would you still recommend animating further in here if you had to make any like tiny tweaks?
yeah, you could. I wouldn't do his flight cycle again here. I would, if I needed to tweak it, I would go back to Maya and tweak it there.
And re-import it again, or just it'll update itself?
I would end up re-importing it again.
Okay.
There's probably a way you can do that, but I'm not like the Unity is not my super specialty. Most of the time in Unity I developed augmented reality applications and stuff like that. So
That's awesome.
so
That's so cool. That's where everything's headed. So can you then, and I know we don't have time to do it. It's already 8:40. But could you then use this to make the dragon do an obstacle course? We could put trees.
we could, yeah, we could animate this dragon onto a motion path, or even by himself, and have him describing his little thing. In fact, we could do it with right here is the little animation interface. So
it
you can see
imports his individual
all that
keyframes.
stuff, yeah,
That's why it takes so long.
Yeah, it's like
Holy
all
cow.
those controls that you saw, they're all right here. So we could actually continue doing that here. It's just a little less intuitive for me than it is inside Maya.
So then if you wanted him to have an obstacle course, would you then have to do it in Maya and then re-import it into Unity?
Not at all. No, I could load trees in here and then
Yeah, because we did that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that
Okay.
wouldn't be a problem at all. Yeah.
Nerd question. If I deleted any of those keyframes there, would it make the animation more efficient? Or
No. It would make him stop.
Oh.
It would, he'd be flying along, and then on one part of where one of his wings or whatever you deleted, it would just freeze.
so it doesn't really tween between the keyframes.
Not really. No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. It's going to look kind of yucky.
Okay.
So anyway, that's it. That's the dragon.
That's so awesome. All right, so
So are we going to be moving it anywhere in this scene right now?
We're gonna leave him alone.
yeah, because it's gonna take too much. Now, can you change? You can change camera perspective. You can see what he looks like from.
So right now, this is the game view. So this is the camera from the game, and it's
if I was looking up and about to get eaten by a dragon.
Yeah, and I don't have it hooked up to a player controller or anything, so it's static there. But I can always go back to the scene mode here and then tumble around and look at them from these different angles and stuff from here. So there's our little sun up there. So
Cool.
Just as a question though, is this something you would recommend as a first thing to try to animate for any upcoming animators out there who wants to get started into something like this?
Oh, I would start with something really simple, like a bouncing ball, and then work your way up. But the nice thing is, one of the big hurdles that used to be was that, in order to get something like this dragon here, first off, you had to model a really great dragon, then you had to rig this really great dragon and texture them. And you can actually just go to the CGI model websites and download this guy for free
to practice animating.
And then he comes in with all of his controls and everything, and so you can go back. And so if you really just want to concentrate on animating, you can bring him in and start learning to animate by using him.
Yeah. That's so cool.
So social media has really, in one sense, has really advanced this stuff quite a bit by making it available to people who just have the desire to do it, but don't necessarily, 15 years ago when YouTube was starting up, or whenever it was starting up, before then you just didn't have those resources available to you.
Yeah, that's how I got started.
And so I would recommend, if you're a student and you really want to go forward with animating or 3D animation or something like that, I would take your student license, go get yourself a copy of Maya, and then start watching beginner YouTube video tutorials, and just start from the basic stuff, like how the interface works, and working your way right up to animating dragons. If you I think if you do a search on YouTube for dragonflight tutorial animations, I think right off the bat you're going to hit about 18 of them 18 to 20 different tutorials. Some of them are
But this
really
one's going to be the
horrible.
best one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the best ever.
I've seen a lot of really bad ones, and I've seen like 1 or 2 really good ones.
So why risk it?
Why
Go to
risk
this
it?
one.
Just do this one. We've got a huge question. Hang on. This is from our dragon. Do you have any tips for a modeler when working with an animator? Like what to expect when animators working with a modeler, for examples. Hang on. Let me read that again. What to expecting when animator working with. Oh, I guess how
Yeah.
should animators and modelers talk with one each other?
Yeah,
like
like, work
communication.
together.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, an animator should definitely be able to convey like the style of movement that they want with their character, and so that the modeler will know to build enough detail into that model. Like for instance, if the animator is expecting the arms to go way above the head, then you're going to have a lot of detail in the arm area,
Yeah.
the shoulder area, in order for it to deform that much.
Yeah.
And so the animator needs to inform the modeler for that to happen. But then from there, the model he makes the model. Then it ends up going to the character rigger who builds all the bones and the skeletons
Yeah.
and the controls that we see.
So there's still another step that we have to
Yeah, and so
coordinate with.
it's going to be this dance between those 3 people. The rigger might get in. He might say, I need more polygons in this area. So then the model goes back to the modeler and he fixes it.
Oh, that way,
And
if it
comes-
stretches, it looks more
Yeah, and then it
natural
goes back
instead
to
of
the
being,
rigger
like,
and he fixes
weird.
it, and then the animator goes and he tests it, and if it doesn't work for the animator, then you kind of like start backtracking all the way to the start again. And this can this process used to take months and months and months, but over the years people have figured out where to put more polygons and stuff, and there are several books out there that help you. To help you decide that. One of them is called Rig It Right, which is a book on character rigging, and it addresses a lot of the problems that we just talked about. So I can definitely push that book for students.
Okay.
For
like
get rig it
figuring
right.
out how to rig
it's
things.
not
Rig
only-
it right.
But is that specifically for Maya then?
I think it uses Maya as an example, but it's pretty much a universal problem with every software platform is that you're going to run into it. So it's really great for if you're a modeler and you want to go into rigging or know what it is about, then definitely get this book or something like that, and it will take you from ground zero into rigging a character, and it'll just everything should work out from there.
That's so cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
I'd like to ask though, is like, because this is my horror story in animation, and I'm wondering if you've ever experienced this. But during the animation process, the client going, you know what? I actually don't like what he looks like. Can we change him up?
Oh yeah.
Have you? Because the backtracking for that is so huge. If you're already in an animation phase and then you have to then change the models again, that will change everything. So I was wondering if you've ever gone through anything
that
like
happens all the time, especially in the major animation houses. That's why one of the reasons it takes so long to make an animated movie. Maybe like I know there's for in fact on one Disney movie I worked on, the main character got a total redesign halfway through the movie. So not only did they have to stop everything, but they went back and redesigned this character. And then they had to kind of like back engineer it into the existing animations and try to
you didn't reanimate.
salvage those.
Okay.
No, a lot of it did have to be reanimated.
Okay.
But
Because I would expect the skeleton, for example, or the rigging wouldn't necessarily match up to the new design.
exactly, there is a lot of what they call painting weights and stuff like that have to be redone. And so if you start out with a model that has like 5,000 polygons and you skin that to your joint system, that's one thing. But if later on it comes back and now it has 5,050 polygons, now it's not going to skin the same anymore. It has to be reskinned and redone all over again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
If you have any questions, because we're just about out of time now, so if you have any questions that we have missed or that people that are just maybe like, hey, I missed the whole show and I got to rewatch it on the archives because I'm super cool. And you guys that are watching it in the archives and have questions for Craig, hashtag us NYFA Games and let us know, like hashtag NYFA Games, hashtag questions for Craig, and then we'll know and we can pass them on to him and get your questions answered in the magical off time when we're not on air.
And of course, if you guys are interested in learning more things that you can apply in making video games, or even just cool things that if you want to get into animation, that doesn't necessarily
we have all
always
of our
pop up
shows
in
are
your video
archived.
game.
We have Unity how-tos, and now we've got a little Maya how-to that we did today.
Thank you so much again. It was very nice having you guys.
Yes,
Thank you for watching.
we love it.